Don Corleone.
What's wrong with you, Eddie? You come into my house.
Shut up, Sean.
You don't eat my drinks. You don't drink my eats.
You don't drink my eats?
Don't drink my food.
And then you ask me to do murder for money.
Brandon, I need some cotton balls in my mouth.
Head to the five families,
Brandon, you broke my heart.
I am honored and grateful that you have invited me to your daughter's wedding on the day of your daughter's wedding. And I hope that their child will be a masculine child.
Masculine.
I pledge my ever-ending loyalty.
The Mamma Mia!
What is the Mamma Mia? Welcome.
It's Sunny. Sunny.
I know what
Everything
it is.
he freaking says. Bada bing, bada boom.
Bada bing, bada,
Bada bam.
boom. Welcome to Season 3 of 3.5 Gentlemen, the podcast, where 3 of the 4 hosts provide a refined and intellectual analysis of movies from our private collections, and one of us tries desperately to keep up. We'll let you decide which host is which, but for now, my name is Sean, and with me, as always, are my co-hosts, Jeremiah.
You know who I am? I'm Mo fucking Green.
Eduardo.
We don't discuss business at the table.
And Brandon.
Well, to be fair, my little intro I used, it was Luca pronunciation, so I do hope that all of you guys have masculine children. Eddie, it's too late for you.
This season, we're shaking things up a bit. We've decided that each host will pick a film from each decade, from the 70s to today, that exemplifies that time period. Some of the films will be underrated, some classics, while others will be overrated piles of cinematic crap.
Shit.
To finish off the decade, the hosts will have a group pick that is sure to delight. As with every review, we give our goals to answer one simple question: how many drinks does it take to get through each film that we've just watched? At the end of the podcast, we'll rate the movie based on a scale of 0 to 5. 0 is a perfect film that you can watch stone cold sober, and 5 is a film that leaves you with the warm, moist feeling of a severed horse's head in your bed.
Moist.
In addition to our review, we always pair our selection with a cocktail that we hope will enhance the viewing experience. So we invite you now to shake, stir, or mix the cocktail that we have selected and settle in for what we hope will be an engaging review. Tonight, we have an interesting movie. Brandon, take us through. That was a little Christopher Walken-ish.
Well, I mean, and a little Shatner. We're stopping a little bit too much, I think.
No.
There's no periods except for the one at the
I
end.
got a fever.
Cowbell. So tonight, we have our first group pick of the season and the final film from the decade of the 70s. We've got Frances Ford Coppola's masterpiece from 1972, The Godfather 1. This film is rated a 9.2.
It's just The Godfather. There's no one.
Well, I mean, if we go back in time, how do we know?
There's still, because it's The Godfather and then The Godfather Part 2.
I'm going to go ahead and agree to disagree with you on that one.
This just says The Godfather.
Okay, well, I'm just going to... Well, to be fair, the script actually says this film is rated a 9.2 on IMDb and has a critic score of 97% and an audience score of 98%, which shows that the audience knows more than critics on Rotten Tomatoes.
Always.
And it's ranked second on the AFI's greatest movies of all time.
What is number one?
I believe it's Citizen Kane.
Citizen Kane, which if you want to be bored to death and fall asleep quick,
It's
go
like
ahead and
Stairway
watch
to
Mank.
Heaven
No,
is
no,
the
no,
number
no,
one
no.
song. It's
Oh.
the same bullshit.
No. I love Citizen
Stairway to
Kane. Is it
Heaven's
number
great.
one? No,
Citizen
but
Kane is not the greatest movie. It's just that.
You know what is
one
the
at
greatest movie?
top that,
You want to know what it is? Well, you'll have to stick around to the end of this podcast to
Stop
find out.
discussing business at the table.
Shut up, Ed. Just shut up. This film
But
follows
Eddie,
an organized...
hold-
Shut up and let me do this.
Wait, but Eddie,
Oh, my God.
this is our business.
It's nothing personal.
What did,
Brandon, I'm
did
sorry.
Carl
Continue.
say?
You guys are
Shut
literally
up.
all acting like Don Vito's daughter right now.
You're acting like Sonny.
Okay.
Damn.
That's badass. I love Sonny. I don't
Is
care that he
that
gets
the one
gunned
who
down.
gets killed in the car?
Why are you saying like it's a question? Anyway, to return back to what we should have done, I don't know, 4 minutes ago. This film follows an organized crime dynasty's aging patriarch, played wonderfully by Marlon Brando, who... I just
Or
realized
Marlon Brand.
That's two. That's two screw ups in the
Who's
script
Marlon
already.
Brand?
Anyway, so this Marlon Brand character, Don Vito Corleone, or if we're Italian, Don Vito Corleone, transfers control of his secretive empire. I don't mean, is it secret? Is it
Well,
clandestine?
bro, the clandestine.
I don't
is
think it's
from
clandestine.
IMDb, so
Well, I
just
wouldn't say it's
go.
clandestine because everybody knows about it. Literally, everybody's on the payroll. I don't
No,
understand this.
They run an oil. Oil?
Oh, what?
Olive oil.
Olive oil.
Right,
Yeah.
but at the same time, everybody
start
knows-
over again.
I don't want to start over.
I like it, Brandon. Keep
Who
going.
transfers control of the empire to his reluctant son, played by Al Pacino. The All-Star cast.
The All-Star?
Pacino.
I literally was going to say All-Star. The All-Star cast. This.
The wine is
Hey,
getting to us.
act like Tom right now. Come on. Suck it up.
I do love Tom.
Well,
Okay,
Tom is mean.
I'm going to do it again. The All-Star cast includes James Caan, Diane Keaton, and the brilliant Robert Duvall.
The brilliant.
Robert Duvall.
Duvall.
Jeremiah, want to take us through first impressions?
Before we get into our drink selection, we need to talk about whose film this is, and additionally, what our initial impression of the movie were before sitting down to watch it. Since this is
A group
our
film.
group film, I will go first. I remember seeing a trailer of this when I was a little kid, where you know Carl gets like strangled in the back of the seat of the car and shit like that. It used to scare the shit out of me when I was little. Like, oh my god, there's someone gonna strangle me in the back of the seat. Terrifying. And that was my first introduction to The Godfather.
You know what my first introduction was? If you feel anything wet at the end of your bed, like check for a horse's head. And like I was,
That's
I was,
just,
is that
it's
a
just
nursery
pee.
rhyme?
It's okay.
I was so afraid when I was just like, oh my god.
It was his prized horse, too, anyway. I watched this movie as part of my top AFI movie marathon during...
You haven't seen it before then?
No, I had never seen it.
You've never seen this film?
No, not until I started sitting down and
Whoa.
watching the AFI during the COVID.
Really?
Yeah. So I wasn't expecting very much because I don't like mafia movies. I don't really care for that organized crime aspect of it. And I remember sitting down and be like, okay, I'm going to watch like the first 30 minutes because it was an 3-hour movie. And I was going to break it up and watch it just in segments. And like it was 1 o'clock in the morning and I was still watching this movie. So I was not expecting what I got, and what I got was super pleasing.
Yeah. So
Say the
I was
least, yeah.
I was in high school, I think, and I think it was AMC or TNC or TBS or one of the old school, cable network shows were showing it, but they were showing it uncut. So I got to sit down, and I started probably it was after the wedding scene, so it was probably 45 minutes in the movie. And I remember just watching it and just sitting there and sitting on the couch, and literally I couldn't move. And then I think my birthday was like a week later, and my parents, I was like, I need to get these movies. And so they gave me the special DVD box set that had just come out, way back then.
Oh, nice.
And I sat down and literally went through 1 and 2 in one night. I mean, it was just overload, but in a good way.
Yeah.
And so since then, I mean, I have been a Godfather fanatic. And yeah, I
Which
still
wedding did you start at? The sister or Michael? Because there's 2 weddings.
I mean,
His sister's wedding.
that'd be a really late wedding.
I remember my grandfather.
it was
had
sister's wedding.
My grandfather had a copy of this on VHS, but it was in chronological order. Like
Yeah.
they did this
Yeah.
where they harvested 2 and 1 and put them together in like this one major.
But it was like a director's cut and everything, like
Right.
scenes that you didn't see in the first or second one. And that's how I actually first saw this movie too.
VHS?
No, it was like on like a special TV show or something like that. It was like the Godfather saga or
Yeah,
something
he
like that.
taped it right off the TV and watched it forever.
Those were the days.
Yeah,
VHS.
Mwah. Like I mean, I just remember the sound of the tape like rolling. About this movie. I don't want to watch this movie, so I didn't. Foolish me, I didn't know. Eddie, why don't you take us through the cocktail?
Yeah, certainly. As we mentioned earlier, with each movie, we try to pair the tone, feel, and overall impact of the story of a cocktail. This season, we really want to stress the cocktail and more on how it leads up to the movie selection. Everyone who listens knows when we finally watch a Bond movie, we'll pair it with a vodka martini, shaken not stirred with a lemon peel. But tonight's cocktail was chosen by the group, so who wants to tell us about
Well,
it?
first off, can I ask you just to be a little happier with life? That was the most depressingly sad reading I've ever heard.
No, he was in character, man. He's all fucking goofy.
Obviously,
he was all
obviously his dog
seriously-
head just showed up in his bed.
I feel like Fredo here, and I get like the
Fredo.
I get sent to like
I love
There's
Vegas
only 2
too.
Fredos in the world. Fredo from this movie.
You know, honestly,
And
I'm
Como.
really sad that I'm so sorry that you did not mention John Cassell on this, like the top of the cast and whatnot. Fredo.
Oh, Fredo.
Well, that's because he's not really in this one. It's two.
Yeah,
Two's-
he's
two's-
not really.
Two's.
He's
he
such a
dropped
fucking
the
great
gun and he
actor.
let his dad get shot.
mean,
He didn't let his dad get shot. He let the guys who shot his
Well,
dad
and
get
once
away.
again, who puts Fredo in the path of the mob against?
Well, who also-
Don Vito Corleone?
Alfredo sauce. I mean, there it is. That's a bad joke too. I
Jeremiah,
know.
what do we
I
pick
mean,
tonight? What do we got?
Tonight we have our first bottle of wine.
What?
Yes,
Say
we
that
are
one
all
more
grown
time for
up
all
here.
the middle-aged women out there.
Why do they got to be middle aged, yo?
Because stereotypes say something. Just saying.
Wow.
So, Mom, this one's for you.
No, I think it's pretty cool. This is like
Sean's
our
mom, I know that this one's for
This
you.
is our first cup or first glass of wine, which is pretty
This
awesome,
is.
actually.
But what's special about this glass of
Well,
wine?
it's the director's cut of Frances Ford Coppola's Winery. So we're actually tying in with the movie. You know, the film, like most bottles of wine, just get better with age. Pour your glass and toast to this triumph.
Pour or point?
Did you screw up on that one again too?
No, I said pour.
Oh,
Am I supposed to say point?
Why are we pouting?
Is that a fancy way to say pour?
No,
You're supposed to say pour.
Jeremiah said
Obviously.
pour. You said pout.
I know because it's spelled pout because I suck at
Typing,
my,
he does.
my only job.
Pour your glasses of wine and toast to this triumph of a film. So, hey, you know, I love these like Holy Grail goblets, right?
Oh yeah, so little
really are
little,
pretty
little
cute.
thing. So these glasses are actually from my great grandmother, and they were from the 40s.
From Sicily?
No, they're not
Ooh,
Italian.
then in that case, not such a cool story anymore.
Sorry. Cheers, gentlemen.
Hard. Oops, my crack.
Oh, it's official, guys. I absolutely hate wine. I've never liked wine.
Actually, this
we
is
didn't-
pretty good.
This is
Pretty
fucking
good,
good.
but we didn't open it up soon enough.
Is
to
it
let
a
breathe.
Merlot? What is it?
It's Merlot.
It's
You
a
have to let
Merlot?
it breathe.
Yeah.
We don't.
Yeah,
It's an Eulo.
it's Sonoma County.
I want to
so
say we rushed it.
I'm a huge fan of Sangiovese. That's like my go-to. But
My go-to is pouring
This
wine
is
down
a,
the drain.
I don't know. This is pretty good.
you uncultured
enjoying it.
swine.
I am so fine with that. If listen, for a wine to be good, it has to have cooler afterwards. You know that.
I know, but
I drink this once a night, every night.
wine.
Once
This
a
is
night.
actually a good. This is a good.
This is
Why
good.
not?
You know what it reminds me of? It
What's
reminds me of the Petite Merlot.
I
don't know
never
if you've
had that.
It's really quite good.
Oh God,
Any-
I downed it. It's good. It's over. It's a
tastes
shot.
good.
It's a
You're
shot.
not
It's over.
supposed to down it.
Hey,
You're
what's
supposed to
that
enjoy
one
it.
popular wine?
Rosa.
Stella Rosa.
Moscato.
Moscato. Yeah.
Moscato peach, everybody. I love it.
Still-
Well, I just want to know. I want you to understand the evolution
Barefoot?
of Brandon's drinking. He started with wine coolers, and now he actually drinks a Jack and Coke. So he's definitely. Made
I thought
some
you were going to say I've
progress.
started with wine coolers and I'm still there.
Well, you're still there, but you
I would
also
love
drink
that.
like big boy drinks.
You
No,
surprised?
he's still a party guy. He goes to
I do.
Jägermeisters.
He's surprised.
Yeah,
We're going back to season one, everybody. Throw that back.
It.
Throw that back to you.
All right, let's start on the movie. We got late summer 1945. We've got a wedding of Don Vito Corleone's daughter.
It takes 25
Connie.
minutes, and normally you'd be like, God, that's a long scene.
So
Nope, it's perfect.
what's interesting to me about
it's
the
very
way that this
long.
movie starts is that you've got kind of a very unexpected start to a movie. Like I remember watching Untouchables where it starts like in the bar with an explosion. Like this is a mob movie, a mafia movie, and it starts with something other than like this massive murder death scene.
I love how it zooms
The
in.
first shot,
The
my
shot,
gosh,
and
yeah.
it zooms out so slowly, and you're just like, oh shit, this is like one of the coolest opening sequence. I feel like when you're just professional of how to actually use the camera to tell a story.
Well, I mean, honestly, we have to talk about the cinematography here. Cinematographically, this is perfection. I mean, this really is. With the way that it uses shadows, the way it uses darkness and light. But that first shot, and then what he's talking about, right? You've got this guy coming and basically pleading for revenge for the Godfather to help this revenge on what happened to his daughter. But he's talking about America. And he's talking about how America is this land of opportunity, and ultimately, it's this irony because this justice or this greatness of America can only be gotten through illegal and violent manners.
See, that's not how I see it at
You
all.
know?
I see a group of people, a group of immigrants coming to the country and probably suffering because of their nation of origin. We've got a little bit of Italian oppression. We got a little bit of Irish oppression. We certainly have some other oppression going on of different groups. But I find it hopeful that this America is worth fighting for, and they're going to fight back against that.
But it's through the illegal means that they're getting this justification, right? I mean, see what I'm saying?
I think they're looking for justice. I don't think they're looking for. I think they're looking for justice for their situation and not necessarily to embrace the illegality.
Is this when Don Vito was pretty much blessing everyone with like one for the wedding.
Basically,
he can't refuse. He can't refuse anybody on his daughter's wedding.
But he was giving some shit back. He's like, you never come to my house. You never have dinner with me, and now you ask for this.
Right.
So I like that. I was just like, ooh, he's about to say no, but I was like, oh, he can't say no though. It's actually the first time I realized this whole tradition that the Don can, on the wedding of his daughter, gives blessing one per person who comes in and requests.
But
the
you
right
also see
way.
in this
that was a real thing, but this movie
kind of opens your eyes.
Opens your eyes.
But
a lot of tradition.
You see this in the first scenes, plural, with people coming to him and him not turning him down. Even if it wasn't the daughter's wedding, I think the way that we see him as a character is that he wouldn't turn them down. That we see this. That what's interesting to me about Vito Corleone, and I think he's a perfect character. But what's interesting about him is that he's a good person. Like at the heart, he's a good person. He doesn't want to get in the narcotics business because he doesn't want to hurt people. He wants people to, make money and profit off of other people's vices as long as it doesn't destroy people.
He's
and
not
I think
about
that's
destroying
interesting.
families,
right?
And that's the whole crux, I think, of the story here is that they had an opportunity to go into the easy money, which cocaine, right? Basically, we're talking about cocaine.
Yeah, all in narcotics and everything
Right.
like that. Yeah.
And the cartels are starting to grow, and the cartels are starting to become a
They
thing.
see the money here, and
Right.
they see like this is the future. This is what she's gonna be like going.
Just
to
so
get
you know,
money.
Brandon does not like wine. He just poured himself.
That was pretty impressive right there.
Well, just so you know, it's really hot outside, and I'm
Don,
thirsty.
you see a lot of tradition within this very first moment of like this guy, like they have so much respect for him, and he gives respect back, and like he's a man that instantly he has power. Instantly, also like he's not like yelling like all the mafia movies. Like he has a lot of like
he's calm, he's quiet,
very calm, quiet. I like how they showed a lot of the Italian tradition of this family.
I was going to say, to me, Frances Ford Coppola really focused on Italian tradition and Italian culture and bringing that to America. And then we actually got a glimpse of what like old Italy was too. And I know that's your
We'll be talking about that.
But I think that the cultural aspects of the movie came through so beautifully. And it reminded me of Coco a little bit, watching this again.
Yeah.
Where I think the Mexican culture in Coco was so
Why
beautiful.
you look at me when you said that?
He's Spanish,
I
bro.
literally didn't look at you.
He's from Spain.
So am I. It's okay.
Oh, like 1/8.
Keep it going. Okay.
What do you think? The 1/8 is less than the other 7/8? Important.
Ooh.
I mean, if we're talking about basically like 7/8 Ed,
Let's continue.
and then 1/8 you.
Anyway,
I'm going to say yes.
I
Ed
think
wins.
Coco really it embraced the Mexican culture, and it was a beautiful representation. I think this is a beautiful representation of the good part about Italian culture and the patriarchy and the control. And I just, it was nice. It was a nice view.
I love the fact that Don Corleone has morals, and he's teaching his sons about like how to be a person, how to be a man. Like I love when Sonny comes out actually hooking up with that freaking like bridesmaid and whatnot, and he looks at him and he calls him out and he says, "Because a man who can't spend time with his family can never be a real man."
Right.
And he looks at him, and that's like you see like he has this code. Like, oh shit, he's like calling out his son right there in front of people.
Well, and even that little bitchy guy, right? Be a man, like when he holds him up and like basically, stop
Is
being
this
such
is
a
this
little
what Hollywood
bitch.
makes you?
He's the godfather of the scene.
He's like literally
Yeah.
the godfather of it.
Yeah, he's the godfather.
So to talk about not just the character, but to me the pacing of the wedding scene, which was about 26 minutes long, I think.
Which I was worried about it.
Brilliant. It's brilliantly done because what it does is it literally gives us all the information we need to know. It sets it up as a perfect introduction. We get all the characters. We get the importance of family, like you guys were saying. We get to know the characters. We see that Corleone is not a bad guy, even though he's a quote unquote bad guy. We get to see Michael as this innocent, kind of a bitch of a guy.
No.
He's a bitch of a guy.
I wouldn't say he's a bitch.
He's an innocent bitch of a guy.
No.
I'm with you on this,
he's a
Sean.
bit-
He's an outsider of his family.
That's my family, Kay. It's not me, right? That's his quote. But
Stop.
bitch of a
Stop.
guy, not negative.
Okay, but
Yes.
he's not
Compared to
that
everybody
is
else.
Or
very
hero.
negative. He's not a bitch. He has been excluded
He's not a bitch. He's
from
a bitch
the
of a guy.
family. And here's what I disagree with your original comment of embracing the illegality, because Don Corleone really wanted to almost excommunicate Michael because he was the future of the family in a non-illegal, non-criminal sense.
Which
he wanted something better for him.
Which gives
Right,
us
he-
the most perfect
he didn't
scene in
want-
the entire
he
movie, which
actually-
is when he realized that Michael was the one that took out. God, it's so good.
Yeah. I don't think he's a bitch.
He wanted,
a bitch of
no,
a-
not at all. But
no.
he wanted Michael to be the one who survived, like the one who got free.
He had these what do you call them? these goals,
yeah, aspirations, expectations.
Yeah, expectations for him.
And I feel like when Michael said he was distancing himself from his family by saying it's my family, not me, because he went to the military. He fought for the country. And remember, this is 1945.
No.
This is the middle of World War II. You have this concept. It's the end of World War II. You have this concept of him being like the chosen one who's going to lead this family for the next generation, next 100 years away from
right.
crime.
And I guess I should clarify. I don't mean bitch of a person as a negative, and I know it is a negative. What I mean by it is that he is so removed from the violence, from the smack you in the face. He is, I would say, he's shown as a passive and weak character, as in he isn't somebody who is assertive. So when he does go and kill Salazzo, right, it just completely upends everybody, which is exactly what it needs to do. Like it's a perfect transition in that regard.
And I think Diane Keaton really plays a big
And we
role.
see that, we see that in The Wedding. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, but I think Diane Keaton also brings something, an innocence to Michael in a way that it almost tempers his instincts, which are to fuck the world up.
He's loyal to Kay more than loyal to his family at the start of the movie.
At the beginning.
At the beginning,
of
we
the
do need to
movie.
talk about
Yeah.
Sicily.
It's different though. I mean, like you see instantly though how Don Vito, like he has so much different expectations of Michael than he does with Sonny, right?
Yeah.
Like Sonny, he brings Sonny into the room. He made sure, like, because he's grooming Sonny. He is grooming Sonny for the family, because that's why he's like, hey, make sure Sonny's here. So he's grooming Sonny to take over originally with, I think.
See, I don't think so. But
No,
yeah, go ahead.
You know, so because he has Sonny as like the person
think
who knows
Sonny-
the business.
I think Sonny is the one
That's
he
the
wants
oldest
to,
son
he wants to take
in
over.
the Italian
And
family.
I think Tom Hayden is
He's the counselor.
basically saying, no, like this is not going to work.
See, I think it's actually the other way. I think Vito, the dad, right, the Godfather, he doesn't want Sonny to be it because he knows that Sonny's too much of a hothead. He expects that Sonny's going to die early, and so when they tell him that Sonny died, it's devastating to him. But at the same time, I get that feeling that he's been expecting this for a long time.
Right.
You know,
It's something that I know in Italian families that it goes to the first
oldest.
oldest, and like he was trying to groom him. He was working with him. That's why if I think it was vice versa with Michael being the oldest, I feel like Don Vito would probably step out sooner. So like he was still in there.
I think he was trying to protect Michael not because he was the youngest, but because
But I'm
Michael
saying,
had the
let's
best
pretend
heart.
vice versa though. Sonny was in the second oldest, but he was in the military, same attitude, and Michael's the oldest. I feel like it would have been different with Don Vito stepping out sooner.
Is Fredo the oldest though? I feel
Fredo's
like
the middle.
Fredo's
Fredo's
the
the
middle.
middle child of the
So
family.
here's the other aspect of the movie that I think the script really is beautiful, because you kind of get to introduce yourself to the family through Michael's eyes. And it's a little
And
bit
Kay's eyes.
In Kay's eyes.
absolutely.
But Michael describing the family, and you get this jaded perspective, an outside perspective.
Exactly,
And then you actually get to dive in and see beneath
layers, so many different layers.
beneath what's actually going on. So what Kay is seeing is what the outside looks like, and then when Michael actually gets involved, it's a completely different perspective. He embraces the brutality of the family rather than sneers at it.
Yeah.
Well, he told one time to Kay, he's like, "You really want to know what my dad did?" And he's like, he made an offer he couldn't refuse.
Put a gun to his head.
He put a gun to his head.
Said, yeah.
So the other thing I wanted to bring up before we kind of keep going is that I think that Vito is clinging to his office way longer because of Sonny. I think he is still there.
Is he waiting for Sonny to change?
I think he's
hoping.
hoping Sonny's going to
Yeah.
change.
He's cleaning a little bit. Like he's like he.
I agree. Yeah.
I kind of disagree on that, only because when Michael finally, the time when he actually rescues his father, and he says, and he finally hears his son going, "I'm with you, Pa. I'm with you."
See his dad cry.
That's and you see the tear coming out of his eyes. Whatnot. He's been waiting for that for his son.
So do you
to
think
be
he
a part
was
of the
waiting
family.
for Michael to come back? 'Cause
I-
I kind of got the impression that he was trying to keep Michael at
He was
arm's
trying to
length.
keep waiting, but he always wanted Michael
Yeah.
to just be with him in a way. If it's not being with the family, but then being with part of doing something differently. But he wanted Michael's love and something. You saw that
Oh,
for the first time. He says, "I'm with you, Pa."
I think he wants his love, but I don't think he wants him in the family. And so we see that when they tell him that Michael was the one that killed him, right? The police commissioner or whatever, and the Salazzo. That we see when they tell him you got that brokenness in Brando's face, which I mean is absolutely the best acting, hands down in that movie.
Magnificent performance.
Right, you see That, and then also when Sonny dies, you see his face just contorting in this beautiful and painful way. And I mean, there's
Very
no way
painful, yeah.
you can watch that and not feel it too. So I know we got to move in the story, but I just want to talk about something I mentioned earlier is the lighting and the cinematography and the idea of how they create this idea of light and darkness just with shadows.
I feel cheated.
Perfection.
Because I think Francis Ford Coppola is probably one of the, let's say, 10 greatest directors of all time, maybe 15. And he has done fucking nothing.
Apocalypse Now is I would say is
so I haven't
brilliant.
seen
So
Apocalypse Now,
Now is great, and then The Godfathers.
but
But yeah, he's basically not
hasn't-
done what he could.
I think the 70s he did everything he possibly can. Not one, but 2 sequels that pretty much did everything.
Godfather 1 and
The
2.
Conversation. He did another movie with that.
Part 2, I feel like is
Apocalypse
better
Now.
than 1.
He really defined the 70s.
I agree with you, but
Part 2 is better than 1.
he's still alive, and we missed out on. Like, I feel like Brian De Palma did the same thing, where he started with a bang, and then he has not given us anything.
Yeah, you
But
do
for
need to see.
decades.
You do need to see
I
Apocalypse
will.
Now.
I'll
Oh
absolutely
my
watch
I
it.
think also he's probably dealt with so much crazy stuff, like with just directing in studio and
He's
everything
been
like
a
that. I
part
mean,
of a lot of
like
stuff,
this
though.
movie, he was seriously.
He's done a lot more producing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
In this movie, he was almost fired every single day. They had a standing director waiting to take it apart. So I think him I don't need this shit
But
anymore.
as an auteur, as someone who's actually going to use the lens to change film, it's a shame because I think that his vision is wonderful.
It is.
The way he cuts, the way he uses light, but the way he also approaches a scene and puts the scenes together, it's unexpected, but it's not distracting.
And you know what I think it is? The reason is, and it's something that I think that we're missing in cinema really throughout. Maybe Nolan is one of the, well, actually definitely Paul Thomas Anderson, is the idea of taking time and not rushing through. These are slow, long scenes, and they're beautifully done, right? We got this beautiful tracking shot, this zoom in on the first shot. We have this, there's only so many zoom shots in this entire thing.
He did
And
direct
when
The
they're done,
Outsiders.
right? Nothing is rushed.
Right, and that's taking your time and understanding the pacing without letting it get away from you. I think is really difficult. I think Steven Spielberg is one who loves an introduction shot. He will take his time showing you a character and then revealing the character. I think that there's very few in Hollywood that actually do that properly.
The last one I can think of right now is the guy who directed Blade Runner 2049.
Oh, Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah.
Denis
I'm looking
Villeneuve.
forward to Dune.
Yeah,
Yes.
you may not like his movies
Oh, I
or
do.
some of his movies, but he
Love 'em.
has an eye, and
He does.
and it's fucking
Well,
gorgeous.
cinematically, I mean, Blade Runner 2024, 2021,
2049.
2049 was
2149, yeah.
was one of those. I was not looking forward to a sequel to Blade Runner.
We saw it together, yeah.
I know, and
Yeah.
I'm like, that was magnificent. That was it was something that was I didn't like the story, but the scenes were phenomenal.
Villeneuve, he's brilliant. One of my favorite movies in the last 10 years is Arrival. I think that Arrival
I haven't
is
seen that one.
absolutely
I agree
close
with
to
you.
perfection.
But
I really do.
I remember The Lord of the Rings. Okay, and
So good. Yeah.
And Peter Jackson took so much time, world building and showing you the detail of the world that I think that's what Francis Ford Coppola
And it
does
comes from-
only realistically. Like he gives you the grit without actually diving into it.
But here's what we do. We have bad people, right? We have bad people, and we love them. We care about them.
right.
Even, and especially in this watching, because I've seen Godfather probably 6 or 7 times.
Yeah.
This was the first time I really kind of sat there and looked at Sonny. Sonny's always been kind of the caricature character that I've just kind of been like, oh, he's the hothead. I loved Sonny. I think that all of these
James
characters, well, James Caan's amazing, but all these characters you like, even though, on paper, they're bad people. They're people who do illegal things. We love them. We relate to them in whatever way. And maybe it's because of the family issue and the family dynamic, but when they get hurt and when they get killed and when they get beat up by the cops because, for whatever reason, we hurt with them.
Or even when
And I think
sister
that's
gets
the
beat up
timing.
and
Oh, yeah.
Sonny just.
Yeah.
We haven't talked much about Robert Duvall
I was just about to, we should talk about him because I love when he goes to L.A. and he's just like,
to Mo Green. Or who
no, that was the
He goes to-
Walt.
He was
Yeah.
the guy with the horse.
Waltz, yeah.
Yeah.
Which to me, I've seen this movie a bunch of times. I forget all the time how early in the movie the horse scene is, and I think it's needed to kind of establish, hey, we love these people, but they're bad people.
And I mean, I'm gonna put your hat on for a minute, in that I don't think that this is a portrayal of a movie of bad people. I think it's a portrayal of movie of people trying to operate in a world with no rules. The world at this point was, I think it's very difficult to describe a world in development. This is a world of rising and falling. And it's I'm going to say it. I'm going to quote Cinderella Man because
Why not?
it's one of my favorite movies.
Seabiscuit's
Families
better.
rise and fall in America every day. But it's the opportunity to rise, and they are rising in the Wild West of New York politics. They are rising, and they have an opportunity to go into cocaine, and they basically say, no, we're going to shift gears and make less money and be less violent and go into gambling.
We'll find something else.
The theme of the movie, pretty much you get throughout the whole movie, is like nothing's personal, everything's business.
Right.
And that's pretty much what it is.
I think we need to really address kind of the elephant in the room, Ed.
I feel like Don Vito was very.
That's not.
No, I was gonna say Don Vito was very really strategic with his decisions. He knew cocaine led to cops. He knew that it's illegal.
And to destruction of
overall, he's just
families.
and he's like it's overall something that in the long run is gonna cause problems. Like let's pick something that's more cleaner.
He
something
found
something easier to hide.
I think Don Vito saw his influence as more valuable than his action. So he wanted to be the person that people went to he wanted to be the puppet master. He wanted to control senators and congressmen and
He wanted to
actors
get into
and
like
Hollywood.
politics. Yeah.
He did
He-
though,
Yeah.
and he did.
No, I understand that, but that's where he saw the power. He didn't see the power in blowing up a car. He wanted to get away from that. He wanted to become the one who sets the rules, not one who lives by the
And
rules.
Michael was best that took that.
Yes.
Let's- Go ahead, buddy.
And you had a changing world where yesterday Sonny would have flourished. Today, Sonny doesn't flourish because the world is changing, because it's developing into a more calm and reasoned place rather than the Wild West.
So there's two elephants in the room that I think we need to address.
Smart
Okay.
decisions. yeah.
What?
Number one, why the hell do we not wear vests, ties, and hats? Seriously, I love that
Because
look.
we wear skinny jeans.
Because it was 95 degrees today.
We're in Southern California, people, and it's hot. Secondly, did anybody else go, damn, it is so easy to kill somebody? When Polly dies in the middle of a field and then he's like, leave the gun, take the cannoli. I'm like,
That is one of the
yes,
best fucking
perfect,
lines in the world,
absolutely.
dude.
But at the same time,
Leave the gun. Take the cannoli.
I'm like, man, we just kill anybody. It's so easy.
I was thinking too because they just throw the gun, you know.
Yeah.
Even like
Richard-
when Solenzo,
Solonzo's the bad guy.
Solonzo.
Solonzo's the bad guy.
He's like literally like, hey,
No, no,
just
Solonzo.
shoot the gun and just drop the gun. I'm like, well, people are gonna see you. People,
Tesso.
yeah. Is it? No, it's Tesso.
Yeah,
Tesso.
Tesso,
Sorry,
Tesso,
it's
yeah.
Tesso.
Clemenza. It's Clemenza,
Oh,
everybody.
Clemenza.
It's Clemenza.
Clemenza's the big
Tesso
one.
Clemenza's the
one-
big guy. Yeah, Clemenza's
Tesso's the one
tall.
who actually
Tesso's
kind
the
of
guy
like,
who
you know, was
goes
the Judas
down
of
at
the
the
family.
end.
You also have to understand 1945. So I'm reading the Hercule Poirot
38
books.
special, right? That's a 38 special, guys.
Yeah.
That's what he used.
I'm reading the Hercule
a
Poirot
really good
books, and they're
Leonard Skinner
talking
song.
about all
Anna
these
too.
all these people who came back from the war as different people. So there was no system of verifying who you were, who you said you were. You know how difficult it is to find out who killed someone if you didn't see their face and are going to testify in court.
No, good point.
Like Michael Corleone, he dropped the gun.
There's no fingerprints.
Who the hell is
There's
that guy?
I mean, duct tape, everybody. That's how we do it. I saw it.
Who else got a little afraid though when I totally forgot the scene where they picked up Michael Corleone and they were driving, and originally they were driving to New Jersey, right? And he's just like, we're going to New Jersey, and he's instantly just like, oh shit, I'm dead. And then they,
No,
and then
but
they
he
did the
played it
U-turn.
cool, dude.
And then
Yeah.
he played it so cool, but then they did a U-turn. He's just like, thank
Well,
God.
I think we have to talk about Michael's kill because that I know from taking film classes in college is one of the most analyzed. Sean, we were in that class together, buddy. It's one of the most analyzed scenes in film, both as criticism and as making. And there's a reason. I mean, you watch that scene and it is perfectly paced, and the sound, right? You've got the L train going over the overhead. You've got the wine pouring. You've got people with their knives and their forks on. I mean, the sound is perfection. It's not rushed. It makes us literally say, just get to it and just do it.
the best scene of the movie.
It
That
is
was the best scene of the-
absolutely.
That's the best part of the movie.
I think it's
Absolutely.
really cool about that because you're actually watching someone. Like, I don't think you've ever seen a scene where you're watching someone think through the consequences of his actions before he kills someone and everything like that.
And you see the,
You know?
I don't want to say the destruction because it's absolutely not true. The corruption of a person literally happen, and we're watching it. We're watching him go from the good son
I don't think
to the one who I don't want to say corrupted.
So I want to
but
agree with Brandon,
violent.
but I think the way he started was ends justify means. I'm doing something
Absolutely.
for the family, and then his ends justified means justification in his mind became brutality. And that's what I love about these movies is that you actually see the decline or the becoming of Michael becoming Don Vito. No matter how hard he tried, he
but
still became
even
Don Vito.
worse.
So I
Yeah,
think
even
I'm,
more violent.
more
I'm gonna break it
brutal,
down.
brutal, yeah.
I'm gonna break it down a little bit even more. I feel like it's an area where a boy became a man. It's a boy became a man.
I don't want to be around you, man.
Because no, but like, what are you willing to do to protect your family
Right.
when it comes down to it?
Yes.
Like, and he knew he didn't want to do it, but overall he's like, I had to do it.
So one
Everyone else, like, they want to see me, I'm gonna see him, but I'll take him out myself, Dad.
this to me is as near a perfect movie as we're gonna get. I think in literally movie history, there's one thing that bothers me, and it has to kind of do with a half other thing, and that is, to me, Michael transitions too quickly. So I want you to get you guys' opinion on it. So you've got Michael. He kills the two guys in the Italian restaurant. He goes
Sollozzo
off
and
and
Captain
McCluskey.
McCluskey.
Yeah.
Mick. Anyway, so then
I mean, we kind of skipped over the fact that Don Corleone was attempted to be.
Oh, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. But in
Fredo,
case you haven't,
Fredo.
listen. In case you have not heard our podcast, we set out season 1 to talk about this in order. Fuck that. Anyway, so. But no, this is a question because I'm sitting there and I'm going, there is only one thing that bothers me, and that is the quickness of Michael's change. And so what I mean by that is, so he kills the two guys, he goes off to Sicily to hide, and literally it seems like his first day or two, he's like, I'm badass motherfucker. Like, it just, to me, it went for a movie that literally is paced perfectly
Yeah.
and slowly. It went too fast.
I'm going to disagree. Go
I'm
ahead,
going to disagree
Jeremiah.
with
Go
that.
ahead.
I wanna hear you guys.
Because
Talk
the
me into
problem
it.
is that you're seeing from Godfather 1. The saga actually explains that he's been there for years, actually. He's been hiding for years. And the whole first story of the Godfather takes place with like about 5 or like
Right.
10 years. So you're actually seeing him actually kind of like just finding his roots in his father's land and whatnot, and he's actually kind of like
He wasn't
becoming,
hiding for years though, because
But we
his
have to
dad was
remove-
still hurt.
Yeah.
And then his brother instantly, everything was calming
He
down.
was there for a couple.
He
years,
was.
dude.
Well,
Yeah.
no,
So
I think he was there for a couple.
I think he was there for like let's
couple-
say 18 months.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think he was there for 6 months.
So here's the thing, though. I understand what you're saying, but as a movie on its own, to me, it did happen too quick. The
Okay,
the
so let me
switch
explain
happened.
why I don't
Okay, yeah.
agree. Because I think that what you were looking for is this slow and steady development of Breaking Bad.
Mm-hmm.
And what you got was a person rising to the moment. And he had to change quickly or he was going to die. It was survive or die.
Right,
And
but once
he-
it's done, like literally, when he carries himself around there with the two bodyguards, like, I'm the badass guy.
But it's all about the show. You could see it in his eyes that he wasn't feeling it. He's trying to embrace a caricature of what people expect him to be. And if he doesn't do that, and it was very evident at the meeting of the Dons or meeting of the 5 families when they met, that image matters. And if he's not going to act a certain way, he's going to be killed in the street.
It's just like that scene with Sonny, who actually got really like Sollozzo, Am I saying it?
Sollozzo,
Sollozzo, where he kind of bites what he's actually pitching out, and he's like, "Oh, you think this is gonna be?" And then Don's like, "You never let anyone think about what you're thinking about." You know what I'm saying?
You never let anyone know what you're
You
thinking.
never let anyone you're thinking about, and basically, he actually that scene pretty much got Don Corleone assassinated right there.
Right.
Because the family saw like, okay, we can get rid of him.
You saw weakness. It's
Yeah.
like you showed weakness. So Brandon, I think
Yeah,
that
no,
what
I do
you
see
saw,
what you're saying.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you that it was abrupt.
It was too abrupt.
But at the same time, his dad had just been shot.
Mm-hmm.
He comes back. He knows what needs to be done. He does it.
Oh, no. You guys are misinterpreting.
Okay.
So when he comes back to New York, I'm all good with him changing at that point, especially because Apollonia had at that time become Apollonia up. Anyway, my problem is literally what we're given as far as pacing. And Eddie, I think this is what you're talking about too, is it seems like he gets to Sicily, day one, they go around and they're talking about, oh, this beautiful girl in the purple dress. You're like, that's my daughter.
very
And then
quickly.
then he's like all badass. Oh, we'll tell her to come out here because now she's my wife and you're going to listen to me and you're going to give me what I want. To me, that scene, that point,
Yeah.
it just went too quick.
But I feel like it was him embracing who he had to be.
Exactly.
I do feel that way.
I'm a little bit. Let's not forget. I found out that Michael Corleone, he was a captain in the military.
Yeah.
Okay, so he obviously had some level of some level in the military. And I also found out that this is off topic, but I read somewhere where his dad had arranged his release of the war, so that's what made him come home early.
Well, yeah, because I'm also seeing that he
So
had a Purple Heart.
now
and he was
I'm realizing now that I think he had a Navy Cross. But I'm
was a
realizing
war
now
hero,
I think
yeah.
the dad realized that he wasn't happy with Sonny, possibly. So he had his son come home early to possibly help Sonny take over the business as a brother and brother company.
So I like to think of Don Corleone as playing 4D chess with everyone else.
Don Vito.
Don
Yeah,
Vito.
he's ahead of it.
I think that what he saw was he was becoming weak in age.
And times are changing.
And times are changing. And when you smell blood in the water, the sharks will come. And he was doing everything he could to assure his legacy. And if that meant bringing Michael back, if that meant putting Sonny there, if that meant putting Tom as the head of the fucking company, I think he would have done whatever it took to preserve the Corleone.
Everything that he built.
Everything that he built.
And I think he actually got what he wanted out of Michael was actually to keep the family legacy going on.
Yes.
And that's when we see Michael actually adapting, knowing that his family legacy is going to actually be destroyed. And that's what he finally gets
Michael's
in.
a talker.
I think the
Like, he
Don,
really-
I think the Don was desperate. I think he was, as the movie progressed, he became desperate, and his strength began to crack when he rejected narcotics. When he said no.
The other four families already said yes.
Right. So
Yeah.
it was like, oh, he's stuck in the past, or he's not going to play ball. He's a problem.
But the moment that Sonny was actually enticed about the whole idea
Yeah.
about narcotics, they're like, okay,
Kill
we
the
can-
old man,
we-
put
we-
Sonny
Yeah,
in there.
put his son. We can get him. We can get him to actually be a part of the Five family here.
So going back to the Sicily portion, because this is my other half frustration, is it just to me, I love the pacing. That portion just went on too long. Did you guys think that? I mean, like, I love the New York part, but God, when we go to Sicily and Apollonia, she's not an interesting character. She can't get the days of the week right. It's not fun. It's just like, oh God,
Monday,
get her
Wednesday,
up.
Sunday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
June, July.
Jason Derulo.
Thank you.
I actually like it because seriously,
What were you going to say?
no, I
John?
just think he's trying to discover his roots from his mother's side. I mean, his father's side, and I think he's actually embracing from where his family has come from and whatnot.
You saw tradition come out definitely
Yeah.
when he was in Sicily. Like you saw a lot of like proper hey, I'll take the family out with you guys. I want to just take her on dates.
That car scene. Now, did you ever expect that actually when you first watched?
When I
this
first
movie?
watched
you're
it,
just
no.
like oh shit, because
No.
you didn't expect that because like Homeboy was like his best friend. He's
But
like
from the very beginning.
you just knew it from there.
Now, no, from the
Well,
very
you saw
beginning,
the movie
you
before.
see from the very beginning, his homeboy is this, and now I've seen it a couple times. So I was just like that he's been slow playing him. So I think at first he was fine.
Is that what you've been doing to me all these years?
At first I don't know when it got to him, but then you
driving
saw
my car home.
as soon as
Spoiler
Sonny
alert.
died, and you saw this change of an attitude. But instantly you saw him
saw the
asking.
weakness.
He asked Michael, "Are you driving, sir?
Right.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
Are
telegraphs
you
it
driving
along.
alone too, sir?" Like instantly I was like, "Oh,"
Which
he's
is
right
interesting
there.
because
Like, he showed
again,
it.
and I'm gonna hold by it that to me this is a movie about bad people that we like. That this is a bad guy who's about to blow up Michael, and he doesn't want to hurt the poor innocent Apollonia. Like
Yeah.
he's like, hey, I don't want to hurt her, and so I'm not gonna. So, but to me, again, it's literally. I love Italian food. Fettuccine is my favorite. Anyway, did I make it worse?
Always.
I love Olive Garden, guys. I love Olive Garden.
Olive Garden.
Endless breadsticks and
I
salad.
love Italian. I love
okay.
pizza.
lasagna.
I do love
spaghetti.
pizza. Okay, so anyway. Hey, listen, speaking of pizza, if anybody wants to sponsor us, we love pizza. Okay, so
Someone's gonna poison our
here's
pizza.
Papa John's.
here's where I have to ask you guys, because it really frustrates me as a person that you have Michael who has Kay and they seem happy, and then he gets to Italy and is like, I'm going to take an Italian bride. What were you guys'
I
thoughts
don't think that
on
he
him
thought-
getting married?
I don't think he thought he was coming back.
I agree with you
I think
to an
that he
to
was-
an extent.
And he kind of made it clear to Kay when he left.
He chose family over her.
Right. That it was done.
Yeah.
Like he was moving on. I know. I know.
Yeah, it's tough.
Once again, it's 1945, so you're talking about a totally different time period.
1947 at
But-
that point.
Yeah, whatever. But what I'm saying is that I think that when he went to Italy, I think when he pulled the trigger, he realized that he was never going to come back to the family.
No,
It
because he was
over.
already
boy
married.
became a man.
No, he was already married. He was already married when the guy, I can't remember his name, comes and he says, "Hey, any word from America? Can I go back yet?" Right? He's married at that point, and he's still asking in the hopes, and maybe it's just a blind hope, absolutely, but he's still asking in the hopes, "Hey, can I go back? When can I go back?"
It was more
Any
of a,
news?
hey, how's my family doing? Oh,
Well, he fled to Italy thinking that there would be no retribution because all of his beef was in New York.
Mm-hmm.
The old country, they still had power in the old country. They still were. Their
shit.
name was the shit. Yeah, it
Don
was,
Corleone, yeah,
right.
the Corleones.
So only in New York were they less than dominant.
Well, they were one of five,
Right.
right? So they were.
Which
They were a
splitting.
strong one too, because he
They were
was the one
probably
that had
the
all
strongest.
the Senate. He had the government with him.
and
All the
once
nickels
again,
in his
he
pockets.
was smart and not violent. He was
No.
the one who was creating industry where they could work together rather than killing off the sons of his competitors.
Yes.
So he comes back from after the whole car bombing.
Well, can we talk about before? We never really talked
Okay,
about
well, there's one scene that's.
Fredo giving up, and
We're really going to go on Fredo?
Well, yeah, I think it's important. I
it's
think 'cause-
important. Why is he even there? Why is Michael even in Sicily?
right. So we have an assassination attempt essentially
Because
on,
because fruit kills you guys.
We don't forget the whole
No,
hospital
because
scene.
Polly called
How
us-
Oh no, I want
smart-
to talk about the
how
hospital.
smart
I want to talk
Michael
about the hospital.
was
That's the one
instantly
scene.
on the
That's the
dot,
one
like,
scene I
hey,
want to talk about
let's
for sure.
let's go.
Well,
I mean,
go for it. No, we're going to talk about
Well,
Alfredo
you
first.
guys are talking about Fredo, but it's not his fault. He's the party kid. He's the party guy. He's kind of like
When he gets a band for Michael. It's so cute.
Is he the oldest?
no, he's the middleest. He's the middle child. So pretty
The
much
middleist.
He's the
Yeah.
middleist.
He's the middleist.
But he's half.
He's not half. He's
full?
He's full son.
Oh.
Tom is the stepson.
That's what.
He's like the adopted son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Tom, if he wasn't
He'd be in charge.
he'd be in charge because
Absolutely.
Tom is the
Smartest
smartest
man.
guy.
if Tom was
yeah.
Sicilian, he'd been in charge.
Yeah.
Wait, is that right?
yeah.
Sicilian.
Yeah, instead he's the Irish.
Yeah, but
Outsider.
He's
He's
to me,
me.
Tom. I mean, I don't mean to change the subject, but
Irish.
to me, Tom is the most important and interesting character. in the
Fascinating
movie.
character.
Love him. Love
Yes.
it. Yeah.
You would put the lawyer.
Plus, it's Robert Duvall.
No, it's
Why
not
would
just
you pick the
because he's a
lawyer?
lawyer. It's because he
It's true, he would.
chose his family. He was not bound by blood or bound by tradition. He literally chose to act the way he acted and to be loyal to
He's
this
loyal,
person.
loyalty.
But what I love is that all of the brothers, all of the Don, they embrace him as one of their own.
Right.
Even though he can't represent them because he isn't family or in the blood family.
That's why he's-
They look at him
he's
like he
counselor.
is.
Yeah. He's a consigliere. He's the guy
Right-hand
that
man.
they turn to. And I don't mean to overpress this, but in business, having someone that you can depend on that isn't family is as vital as having family around you. You've got to be able to have an outside opinion that isn't jaded by what's going on in family.
Seriously.
So
that's-
you're my guy then.
what the hell, Ed?
I took him first. Sorry. You can have him too. We can
Jeremy, can you be mine?
Got it.
share. It's Jeremy's family.
I'll just be like, hey, just don't do
Jeremy.
that.
No,
And don't do
Jeremy's
that.
not my family.
I love how you guys didn't pick each other.
And don't do this.
Eddie, hey, seriously, buddy? Fuck you.
Hey, you want to get some Slurpees?
I
So-
would actually love to.
Don Corleone his life is put in peril. He's basically
How
attempted
bad
to
do you have to
assassinated.
be to shoot him that many times from that distance
5 times.
and literally miss all
You
vital
see him?
organs?
He looks like a fucking bulldog.
Do you
yo.
notice that the orange, like every time you see oranges, someone is about to get shot?
No.
I literally.
Is it regarding oranges or just death? Because he was actually in the fields, wasn't he? Pulling
with orange.
oranges.
Yeah.
I
That
think
wasn't oranges. That was just a.
he had an
vegetable.
orange. He had an orange in his mouth.
Yeah, the
He was-
mouth, but the film was something else.
no,
It was tomato field.
It's just it was a garden.
But he was eating an
Yeah.
orange with an orange peel
And
in his
that-
mouth
he was-
like a monster.
He died of old manness. He didn't die of like getting.
Did you
killed.
know that
I must have fucked up that kid, by
Brando
the
or
way.
Brand was only
that was his
48
son,
or
right?
49 when
Michael's
he
son.
acted in
Got-
this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that kind of makes sense because
He's
he ate himself to death, but he was in a great movie called
Watch
The
Apocalypse
Score, with Robert De Niro and
Edward Norton.
Edward Norton.
Who?
Marlon Brando.
Marlon
And
Brando.
he was freaking incredible in that movie.
well, he is. But the funny thing is, he's reading all of his lines. He never memorized.
No, he had an earpiece, and they would say the
no.
lines.
Robert Duvall, you see a picture. He literally has like the lines taped to his fucking chest.
It's just like Superman.
like he still does the same thing. That's his way how he does his movies.
First take's the best take. Let's do it. I'm like, no. That's not what you're saying. You're saying I'm lazy as fuck.
Well,
Let's do it.
Who is it? Two take? Was it? Is it Clint Eastwood who does two? If you can't get it in 2 takes, you're not going to get it.
Yeah. Or you've got David Fincher and Marty Scorsese, who's like,
70
take
shots.
104.
But
Cut the check. Okay.
I
so
like that.
Yeah.
But I like that scene where like Michael finally goes and he accepts his family and he chooses his father, and you see him not becoming like an outsider, but he becomes like I don't want to say a soldier, but he becomes like, okay, I'm going to save my family here.
And he
Family's
starts
first,
thinking,
right?
like he starts thinking, not emoting. And this is the difference between
when
Sonny
he moves,
and Michael.
When he moves Corleone.
Yeah, in the hospital. So
From-
you've got Don Corleone in a hospital bed in a room being protected by.
His own man, but he was alone.
Right, he was alone.
He ended up being alone.
Well, he was alone because the cops were pulled off, and the cops
Yeah.
are under his payroll. But
Right.
then McCluskey is the one who's an ass,
Right.
and is bought
So
off by
Michael
Salazar.
comes after, I think, visiting his girlfriend a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then he's over there alone instantly.
What? So to me, this is why this movie is
Wasn't the Baker came too?
near perfection. Is the Baker right? The most
Comes full
implied,
circle right there.
the most implied scene is when he's got the Baker out there, and he and the Baker out, and their
put
collars
it-
up,
collar
right?
up.
And then you've got the Baker, and he's trying to light a cigarette, and it's so subtle, and it is so perfect to show just how freaked as fuck this guy is. And my God, that's
Put a
directing,
hand on your
and that's
coat just to make
acting.
it look like there's
He
nothing
can't do it, but Michael is steady and calm, and he's the one who lights the cigarette because it shows that Michael at that moment has transitioned from, to me, weak bitchish
Boy
boy
to man.
to holy shit, this guy can and will does take over.
I always thought Michael knew exactly who he was because he was always the smart one. You saw him how he was like, he had a military
military vibes.
background, and he knew
Military
exactly
vibes.
how to
So
adapt when the situation came
There's
about.
there's also this concept of two
Just
different
rated, by the way.
two
My
different-
ratings in.
two different halves of the
off.
same person, right? So there's a person in calm and peace, and then there's a person when shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
And some people, when shit hits the fan, can't deal. They can't
Sonny.
handle it. They
Mhm.
just
Look at Sonny in this movie.
emotionally
It's like
Sonny, yeah.
can't
He's like,
handle it.
I want to kill everyone. I want to kill everyone.
And
Let's
there
kill
are
everyone.
some people who it's like that scene in For the Love of the Game, Clear the Mechanism, where the world just slows down and they are in control and they act. Kevin Costner.
Whoa, there it is.
But I think that Michael was a focuser. When shit hit the fan, his focus went from a 10 to a 2. Like it narrowed. He knew exactly what needed to be done, and there was no questions. There was no him and hawing. He just fucking did it.
And he instantly knew, like, this is a problem. Everyone is gone.
And
like,
everyone's running
he
around with a
instantly-
chicken,
he
like
instantly
chicken
knew-
head cut off.
Exactly, yeah.
Instantly knew it's a setup. Like, where did all the men go? No one's here.
Right.
And he asked the nurse, let's move my dad instantly.
Right.
And after that, you see him actually going, you know what? He thought about exactly what he needed to do. I will be I will sacrifice for my family. I know exactly what I need to
I
do
will
here.
end this right
you
now.
know, and he's like saying, like, hey, you're just taking this because you think it's getting personal because you got hit. He's like, no, dude, it's business. I know
Right.
exactly what I need
Strictly
to do.
business.
He
right?
even
Which
came
is
up- he
such a
even-
great
I think
line.
he even came with the story too. Is like, how about you plant the gun? Right? I think that was him.
Well, yeah, he says, okay, you're going to find some way for you to smuggle in a gun, and I'm going to get it. And then they're like, oh, the washroom's awesome because it's got that box up there. And I mean, we've already talked about it a little bit, but I mean, just everything about that is to me, should be the most suspenseful scene in any film ever.
And we haven't even talked about the music, which to me, the music.
Ed, music.
No.
Music, Ed.
But the music was haunting and
Beautiful, too.
precise
And beautiful.
And it also to me it told a story of the origins, so it felt Italian
Well, it's
without
Italian.
being like stereotypically Italian, and then it also wove in this like power. I don't know. There was something about the score that just made me like associate it with.
I can even hear it now. It's
Even
weird.
the way- yeah,
It's
even the
in
way
my
you're-
head right now,
Even
right?
the way you're saying this right now, I feel like you're just speaking with
This
power.
is so.
You do seem more badass. That's why Michael's able to be
Yeah,
more
keep talking,
badass.
Sean,
He's got
keep
the music.
talking.
I'm also sitting at the head of the table.
Oh, technically he is, everybody, because he doesn't believe in the Arthurian round table.
Well, no, not everyone's equal.
Don't say that about Ed. He's literally right here.
All right, so let's talk a little bit. An aspect of the movie that I didn't much care for was the relationship between Carlo and Connie, and the destruction of their marriage, and then Michael has to kind of it just.
To me, as day one, the wedding, when he found out that he's going to get this pushed aside job, he's not going to become part of the the quote the family.
that's where he-
He's like, okay, I'm
gonna
here to be sold,
Yeah, exactly.
and he got bought out by
Like
Yes.
Carl, as soon as like he didn't get the job he was hoping for, and he was hoping the doors would be open to him, he instantly like
every single thing was to set up the
was-
destruction of the family because he's been bought
Barzini,
out.
he got bought out by
He got
Barzini.
bought out by Barzini, and literally, that's such a perfect ending to him when he gets. What's the what is it when you get?
Strangled?
No, it's not strangled. It's literally
Jurat?
Juratted.
What's the The Gerard is the wire.
Yeah, okay, so you got Gerarded.
Well, like that scene with
think
Luca Brasi, man, when
called
he
the
gets his hand
Gerard?
stabbed right there.
Oh, yeah.
And you literally see his eyes
His
popping
eyes-
out.
But literally, to me, when Carlo goes and he's kicking, and it's literally right in our face. I mean, granted, Luca Brasi is too, but that's hard to watch. And then it sets up the ending, which we're going to get to
I
eventually.
didn't think the violence though was overbearing.
No, I'm not saying that.
There's one scene that I can't watch, and I still can't watch it to this day. Is like when you see, or you not see it, you hear him beating the shit out of Connie, and you see.
Perfect
I can't
In the
use of
bedroom?
sound.
I can't watch it.
In the
I still
bedroom.
can't watch it to
So
this
hard,
We
day.
have to see this as literally Carlo is bought out, and he has sold his soul, quote unquote, to
And I guess that's what I
Barzini.
didn't like is I didn't like that aspect of the movie because it made me uncomfortable.
It makes you
Yeah.
uncomfortable for
That
sure.
was all a
but
setup.
when Michael,
Right.
but when Michael takes Carlo down, and even though he lies about it at the end, again we're kind of rooting because this guy was a horrible.
love
He
how-
caused Sonny. He
Kind of
caused
similar
Sonny.
to Fredo. The way Fredo goes out, it's
Yeah.
the same kind of.
I do love how
Fredo's
that's
more
number two. I'm
tragic.
sorry.
That's
I
more
do-
tragic right
I
there.
do love
yeah.
how Michael says like you have to pay for what's Sonny's first name?
No, he says
Sonny
he's just
is his first name.
Yeah, he
No,
just
it's-
like you're
it's
gonna
San- else. Santino.
you're gonna have to call for Sonny
You
now or
have to-
something
you
like
have
that.
to call. You have to call. For
But I love
Santino.
when Sonny actually goes out and he actually
first
finds
time?
Carl and beats the shit out of them with a fucking garbage can. 'cause
Except
was-
that punch that misses him by literally 4 feet. I mean,
I saw that too. That looked like a
I
Rocky
mean,
punch.
yeah.
So let's talk about Sonny's death and the impact of Sonny's death on the story, and particularly James Caan as a character. Because we talked about how wonderful of an actor he is, but we really haven't talked about
Trying
Sonny.
to keep his dick in his
They were
pants.
they were all trying to get to the same role. James Caan, Al Pacino, even Robert Duvall, even Robert De Niro was actually supposed to play Sonny. They were all in the same kind of like casting
Class,
in
like-
class, but
well,
in the same casting right there.
And what's his name? The guy who played Joker, not Heath Ledger, the other one.
Joaquin.
Oh,
Joaquin Phoenix was. I think he was talking about how his class of people was Leonardo DiCaprio, and they fought
Yeah.
for the same roles. There was like 10 people who fought for the same roles
Yeah.
every fucking week, and one guy would win every fucking time.
Leo
was
won
Leo.
Titanic.
But I feel like that Francis Ford Coppola cast Sonny and then used everyone else to fill out the other characters in a way that was so supporting of I don't know. It felt like every actor in this movie was like Academy Award winning top notch.
they were all
Well,
nominated
and
for.
they have
They were all
in the
they were
years
all
after.
nominated.
I mean, that's one of the notes I have. Is literally the casting's perfect. It's perfect. Everything from Duvall all the way down to
Diane Keaton.
Hold on,
John
Diane Keaton's really good in this movie.
John Cazale. Yeah,
Like the ending of the movie is just fucking like, oh god damn it just gets to you, man.
Diane Keaton in one of her very few quirky roles that she ever does is amazing.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, she sells it in that end. That I know we haven't gotten to the ending yet, but that last shot of her, of the door closing on her, right? This idea that she'll never exactly know who her husband is, and that's her life. Oh God, it's so
He
good.
knew him at one time.
She thought.
and he definitely grew to be someone else when he came back from Sicily.
Yeah, when they come in and basically call him the new Godfather, and we realize at that point that this whole movie was not actually about Don Vito Corleone. It's
Yeah.
about Michael Corleone becoming the Godfather. Like the Godfather of
Well,
the title is Michael.
To me, it's about legacy. It's about
Yeah. So
it's
perfect.
about the peaceful transition, or sometimes not so peaceful transition of power between generations. And I love the holding on, and I think I like number 2 better than I like number 1 because I get to see Don Vito as a young man and how he became.
Exactly.
And it's so different from how Michael became who Michael is. It's such a different path. And for me, Al Pacino plays this character. It's the best role he's ever played. He plays this character so subtly and so strong and so quiet that he's almost so much more intimidating than Don Vito. It's not even funny.
I love it when we get too close to the end of the movie and like when Don is actually gone and he's dead and everything, the funeral. The family feels like, okay, we're going to actually get the best out of this guy and we're going to get him and we're going to kill him and whatnot. And he outsmarts every single person here. He outthinks everyone. He's like almost like the underdog. Yeah.
Well, we have to talk about that montage where literally, it's so creepy in a lot of ways that he's there and he's professing his love for Christ and he's professing this idea that he's going to become literally the godfather of this baby and that everything is going to be moral and ethical. And the whole time while this is happening, he is assigned the deaths of all these people. And it's just the mowdown.
What's the word? Juxtaposed?
It's juxtaposed. Yeah.
Against all of the violence. And it's almost like this is the role he's chosen to play, which is
And there's
visual.
no remorse. Like you can see it in his face, and this is where you see the
'Cause the
acting and you
family's
see the
more
directing.
important.
You see
It's all about family. Yeah.
and you see it though literally not in any kind of dialogue. It is all in expression and emotion.
And I keep going back to Untouchables because Brian De Palma is, I think, brilliant, and I think that he
Underrated.
and Francis Ford Coppola and Lucas and they all talked about
Yeah.
it. But it's similar to the scene in Untouchables where he dies in the elevator, where the accountant dies in the elevator.
Yeah.
So the gravity of what that hit looks like you can't. There's no stopping it. And then Michael stops it. His own. Like,
It's cool to see, jumping in on that, it's cool to see his dad, the one last advice he gave to his son, Nets, I think outside on the field or something, was just like the first person to come to you
Is the traitor.
Is the traitor. And like, I realized that, and it's like he was almost, Michael was also looking at other people, just the way they were reacting. He knew, like, okay, these guys are definitely like enemies. Everyone's enemies.
when
then
he goes to Tessio at the end, and Tessio is saying, "Hey, is there anything you can do for
to
me?"
Tom,
That
yeah.
scene.
Oh
is
my
so
God!
hard.
Right?
It's so hard.
and this acceptance that, like, hey, I screwed up, I got caught, and I'm gonna go without a fight. But man, I would love to get out of this.
And how
For old
Tom
time's
Duvall
sakes.
he just goes, "Can't do it, Sally." Like he just his nickname. Like, I can't do that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm saying goodbye to you now.
Yeah.
That- oh,
And he
Fuck.
just walks off.
I'm
Accepting
it.
I'm telling you,
Accepting it.
Tom Hayden is he's always my favorite character, but his demeanor regarding like death and the things that are going on around him, and his insistence on staying at arm's length is so dispassionate. It's so like clear cut. There's no emotion. It's business.
And I think Michael actually helped him because he actually removes his title from the family and becomes like the family lawyer because he knew exactly, I don't want you to be involved what's going to be happening anytime soon,
Right.
you know?
Well, and the storm was coming. You
Yeah.
know? I mean, everyone knew it. So let's talk a little bit about, as we kind of finish up here at the
Yeah.
end, we've got the death of Vito Corleone with his grandson, which I thought was,
Sad.
it was
It's sad,
also
but it's also fitting
fitting, and it finished his story.
because he
Must have-
didn't
must have
die.
had a heart
He
attack.
didn't die in a violent
yeah,
way.
yeah.
Had a heart attack.
Yeah, he didn't die in a violent way. He didn't.
He went on his own terms.
And with his family, like
Right.
literally, and there's actually that scene where all of them, when Vito comes home from the hospital, right, he's still laid up, but all of the families in that room with him, and all the grandkids are going and saying, "I made this picture for you, Grandpa." It's beautiful. It's so amazing, and it's so great. And I think that the ending really kind of highlights this importance of family, not only to to Vito as a person, but to the entire purpose of the family.
And Michael, that's at the time before Don Vito died. So it's now like after that you saw everyone started kissing Michael's hand
Right.
now. They accepted him. But it's just funny how and Michael instantly, I feel like he knew from the very beginning, obviously he knew he was getting rid of Carlo.
Carlo.
And he was
Carlo.
garroted, by the way. That's the right-
Garroted, thank you.
Yeah, and then he also had a hit of the other families.
Yeah.
And it was just like
Well, he settled things.
He settled
He
things.
settled all the scores that he needed to, man. Like he planned everything. Like he was like the biggest chess master right there.
Scorched the earth.
Which
All
is-
at once, done.
Which is so weird because it's almost like it sets up a sequel.
Oh, yeah. So the other side of this, too, that I wanted to kind of talk about with, you had said Don Corleone gave over power to Michael and, he was no longer the one to ask questions. Imagine the difficulty of retiring from this world, right? So you are the grand poobah. You are essentially the most powerful of the five families. Everyone listens to you. You have all this influence, and you didn't die in gunfire. You literally retired and gave your power to someone else.
And then you lived out your life. in
And then,
peace.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just think that's super
Yeah,
interesting.
It's
just
interesting.
just when you think you're out, they just pull you back in.
Oh my God, that's Godfather 3. Such a good scene.
Well, and I like how Michael chooses to lie too at the end about Carlo's death.
And it's the thing: is he protecting Kay, or is he protecting the family, or is he
Protecting
protecting
the
the
family.
marriage, or is he protecting the business?
I
mean,
look at it like
oh.
this. I think this is the last little piece that he needs to become Don Corleone. He needs to keep not just his family, not just his business associates at arm's length. I think he realizes that this is his weakness, and he is legitimately cutting that last thread that connects him to people he cares about.
My question to you is that did you guys feel like a little like doomed when you saw him having people running up to him or like walking up to him and actually acknowledging that he's the Godfather.
Kissing his hand.
Like, did you kind of say like, Jesus, this is like the man that he never wanted to become in a way, like it comes full circle,
God
Did
damn,
you get
guys.
that vibe, or did you guys ever think that? Because when I was watching this time, I'm like, man, I'm watching a man that just never wanted this, and now he's become
Or
everything
do
he
you
never
think that
wanted to
he
be.
always wanted this, and he always
No.
wanted to have an outlet for
But
this?
The most
You know?
reluctant suitor is the best king every time. I mean, it's a story of time out of mind, right? The one who is least
Alibaba.
who least wants it
Prince
is
Ali.
the most appropriate to put on the throne.
The calmest person at the table is mostly the strongest.
Yes.
So did he choose his life, or are you saying that
No, it was thrust upon him.
or he life made an offer he couldn't refuse?
Basically, life made him an offer he couldn't refuse.
I really like that.
And now let's make an offer that we all can not refuse, and let's finish our
Wow,
podcast.
I think we
That was
butchered
horrible.
that one. If I've had bad ones today,
And that brings us to the end of review. Now it's time in the podcast where each of the hosts provides his score on their following scale. Eddie, can you provide our scale, please? Whatever.
All right.
A 0 is a great movie, and a 5 is what's that movie about surfers?
Point Break.
Oh, Point Break.
You didn't give it a 5, yo. You gave it. You didn't get a 5.
Lebowski's worse.
Let's
All
find
right.
out about next
All
week.
right, take us through
let's
this-
see.
take us through this.
0, the perfect movie. Don't need shit to enjoy it. 1, a feel good first cocktail. 2, a happy buzz. 3, you're on the Uber or lifting home. 4, a rough morning walk of shame. 5, blackout, shit face, spring break drunk. Gentlemen, let's
Or
start
you're
with
garroted. What is it?
Garroted.
Garroted. You're
Garroted in a
5.
car.
5, you want to be garroted.
Gentlemen, let's start with Jeremiah.
I thought
Because
so.
it's J is up
J,
there.
Jeremiah, gentleman, G,
Okay.
and J. Okay.
I'm going to just make it short and simple here, guys. The Godfather is in a league of its own. It's epic in every
That
single
movie
way,
is also fantastic.
Tom Hanks. Okay.
which I love so much. It's a story about family, loyalty, life, and death. Watching this time around, it just had like this Shakespeare tragic vibe to it, man.
Yeah.
And I also have like this vibe, like Michael Corleone was marrying, like, I don't know, like Darth Vader. Like, you have a person that can't escape their manifest destiny. And it was just, it's a tragic story in a lot of ways, but it's so good at the same time,
Manifest fucking destiny. Yes.
For me, Godfather 2 is one of the best movies ever made, and it's my favorite of the Godfather saga. But I don't think you're going to find a near perfect movie or a perfect cast or a perfect vision that captured the 1970s and just changed cinema as we know it. So for me, this is a 0, guys.
Oh, 0. Okay. J
Brandon,
Bear,
what do you
J Bear
think?
with a 0. Okay, so I will.
By the way, that's my first 0.
That is
in
your first
this
0.
fucking,
I think I've had
podcast.
I feel like
Two.
I'm a 0
I feel
whore.
like I've had a 2. Well, when you go north by northwest, it's a 0.
I did not put North by
I think you
Northwest.
did.
as a-
Didn't you do Psycho?
No.
Psycho?
I like when I was trying
Psycho
to-
was a 0,
That's
and
a-
so
that's a
was
dis-
Sound of Music.
That's
I try
disturbing.
I go on my calculator.
I think
Oh,
Sound
0.
of Music.
I just was like 0 plus.
So I am going to disagree with Jeremiah just a little bit. I know that one of the big debates in all of cinema is which is the better, 1 or 2. And I think that basically everybody's going to say 2. To me, 1 is and will always be my favorite. I think it's the better movie. So there's just that to get that out of the way. I think that there's not. So Jeremiah, you're wrong with that one, buddy. And so is basically
That
I
was
don't
a
know.
random fuck you, but okay.
Hey, by the way, I love you, but
No, it's
here,
because
go fuck yourself.
Do you know how many people tell me you're wrong? You don't know movies because you like 1 more than 2, and I'm like,
Yeah, you don't know movies because you don't like a lot of really good
we'll
movies.
find out next time. Hey, Sean, what is our next movie?
Oh, we'll get to that. Brandon, finish your review.
Yeah, let me just go ahead and say this quick. The Godfather is literally amazing. It is what movies are. It's basically, to me, the transition that I always kind of look at. Now, this is why the kind of the joke, Sean, is that I only like movies from 1970 on. It's really kind of incorrect because I like movies from The Godfather on. Because this changed movies. This changed literally the idea of how a movie should be put together, the pacing, the construction of it, the storytelling. It's realistic, it's cinematic, it's beautiful, and it hurts all at the same time. And so it's literally perfect, except I do have 2 just little hang-ups. And one, it's how quick Michael turns in Sicily, and then how long Sicily is. That being said, I can't give it a 0, though I desperately want to. What I do want to say, though, is this is not a shot. This is like if somebody poured a shot for my friend and it overspilled on the bar, I would lick up just a little bit of it. If I could give a 12th as a score, I would. But I can't, so instead I'm going to say that this is a bitch shot quarter. This is a quarter.
0.25.
This is a quarter drink, or as the
it's
metric
your
people out there would say, 0.25.
So it's your regular shot.
No, a shot.
Oh no,
is
it's
fine.
a Brandon shot. It's a Brandon
that
shot.
was a low blow.
That's
right
a.
there.
You know what?
That was a
I
low
get
blow
it
right
after
there.
calling
sorry.
Jeremiah out.
That went over my head.
So literally, because Sean is not just a zero whore, but he's also a. I'm going to give my opinion last whore. I'm going to go to Eddie.
I'll
no,
go
no, no, no,
next.
no. Shut up.
I have never.
Shut up.
No.
Hey,
Shut up.
once.
you're at the
Oh,
head
I'm
of the
sorry. You're
table.
always pointing. You're always pointing, being like me last, me last, me last.
I never do that.
Okay. Well, in that case, I'm going with Ed.
Thank you. I'm making an offer you can't refuse. Okay? So, reviewing this movie is almost hard because it's such a great movie in so many different aspects. Like as Jeremiah and Brandon both said, I don't want to be repetitive, but it's a very clean movie. Everything the sound, the lighting, I don't want to say costumes. What is it?
Costumes.
The costumes, the whole set, everything. I mean, even you feel like you're in Sicily when he goes to Sicily, right? And I don't know. I was trying to find like where did they actually film this at, but
Sicily.
but like there was so many awesome parts of this movie. I agree with Brandon how Michael Corleone all of a sudden when like he dropped that gun and he walked out, his balls dropped, and all of a sudden now he's just this Don out in Sicily. And more I think about it, it's like that was kind of quick. Yeah, I didn't think about that. But this is a 1972. I was thinking about other movies in 1972. This was ahead of its time, and it doesn't age. I feel like this movie is still
Agreed.
It's so clean and traditional, and puts a lot of different vibes of you see other mafia movies out there, and it's just like there's always the word mafia and gangster. This is a movie that you got the idea. It was a mafia movie and a gangster movie without them saying those words, right?
Saying those words
They
never.
never said the movies at all. So that's very, very, very hard to do in the movie and to hold down the. I mean, there's a reason why it's on AFI as number 2. I don't want to say. I'm almost with Jeremiah for just personal reasons. I like 2 better than 1, but now at this
You're
age,
not wrong. You're just not my friend.
at this age of my time, I respect 1 so much more. I forgot who said it, but like this is almost a movie of Michael Corleone becoming the Godfather than Don Vito of the Godfather.
That would be me.
Yes, Brandon.
Yes.
The one good thing you
Cite
said
that
tonight.
shit.
So I mean, like it was just so calculated with every move that Michael Corleone had. You saw that he was groomed to be the Godfather without Don Vito wanting him to be the Godfather, and it's just like, hey, you know, it was his destiny. Like it was meant to be. I do give this movie a 0.5. It's hard for me to find a perfect movie, and this movie comes the closest to it for me for ranking. So it's a 0.5 for me. Sean, you want to wrap it up?
So I look at in my experience, there are 5 movies that I think changed how people make movies and changed cinema. I think Psycho changed the way cinema happens. I think Lawrence of Arabia changed how movies are made. I think Jaws changed how things were made. I think Star Wars changed how things were made. And I think this movie changed how things were made. And I think that before this movie, you had this image of what a movie was supposed to be, and this turned it on its head and gave you complex, compelling characters that you could root for and still despise.
Yeah.
I think that it created a world independent of the real world that everyone lived in that was so gritty and dark. And think about when this came out in the 70s, where you had social upheaval, you had a bunch of different cultural conflict. Mm-hmm. This movie kind of cut through and gave you a perspective on 1945 that wasn't a war movie. 1946, 1947 that wasn't based in World War II.
Still to this day, we don't get those. Yeah.
So it revolutionized film. It also gave you an image of what Francis Ford Coppola was capable of. And I think he trained a whole new generation of directors in how to film a movie, not capturing life, but creating drama on screen. So I think Francis Ford Coppola has changed how. Without this movie, there is no Jaws. Without this movie, there is no Star Wars. Without this movie, there is no American Graffiti. And if you look, I mean, number 2 on the AFI list, you've got Orson Welles and Francis Ford Coppola as number 1 and number 2. They changed how you view cinema. And that's the mandate of this podcast, and that's what we look at, is movies that impact how films come to be. Mm-hmm. For that reason and that reason only, I would give this movie a 0. However, my hesitation on giving it a 0 is that I think number 2 is better than number 1. And I think if I was to grade the Godfather trilogy, number 3 just is horrible.
It's an F minus, and it's because of Sofia Coppola.
However,
You're better
just
director.
looking at this movie, I think it's a 0.25. I think that this movie is everything that a movie should be with very few issues. Let's look at where Eddie, when we combine all the scores and divide by 4, what does the Godfather earn on our
0, a 0.25, a 0.5, and a 0.25 equals a 0.25.
Okay, so
George freaking Washington.
I can tell you exactly where that lands
a
on the
quarter.
list. Or Jeremiah, do you want to say it?
Tied for number 1.
It's tied. with
Ah,
number
it's
one.
tied.
Yeah.
Field of Dreams.
So Field of Dreams, Jurassic Park, and Godfather are all.
It's tied with the number 1
I
list, man.
can literally
all-
be okay with that.
If you would have gave it a 0, it would have been number 1.
I understand that.
Okay, but you know what?
If I would have given it a 0.25, it would have been number 1.
I think that's great because I would agree that all 3 of those movies are absolute.
It's hard to pick a favorite movie out of the
Gems.
Well, and once again, I mean, we're probably never going to do Lawrence of Arabia, but the cinematic
That's a 9.
scope.
cinematographically.
Yeah, but the scope of these movies are so different than what you get today. You just don't get this type of movie anymore.
My goodness, I don't think we're ever going to get a fucking perfect movie.
Oh, no, we will.
I don't know about this,
I
guys.
believe that there is a movie that came out in somewhere around the 1980s.
Dun, 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 dun.
What
What
is
was
Did
that?
That sounded good, right?
Are we? Is that Vader's March? Is that what you're
I
doing?
don't know.
Or is that Indiana Jones? Because I'm not sure where you're
I'm
going
not
with
going
that.
with that.
John Williams.
Well, I mean, it's John Williams of some kind. I don't know. It's E.T. What the hell are we doing? I was just saying.
E.T. might be that might be the
That's
one.
not a 0.
All right, if you
Yeah.
enjoyed our review or a fan of the podcast, we ask that you please subscribe wherever you're listening. We're now available on where?
Oh, we just got hit up on Pandora, yo.
We are growing. We actually got a really wonderful message from a listener about our 310 to Yuma podcast, which not many podcasts review 310 to Yuma, apparently. So
Respect.
Shout out.
shout out,
Shout
respect. Thank you so much. It's so nice to hear from people that love our podcast and that really can share some time with us. If you guys have any suggestions about movies that you want us to review,
Share your thoughts
please,
with us.
yeah, go ahead and email us at hosts@thegentlemanpodcast.com. You can reach out to us on Instagram at The Gentleman Podcast or visit thegentlemanpodcast.com. The website is updated and accurate finally. Also, I just want to take a moment to really reach out to all the people who have been listening to American Graffiti and all the different episodes. But we've had Halloween. We've had
Seriously?
an amazing surge in listeners over the last couple 4 or 5 weeks, and it's just been a real blessing for us, and we really enjoy doing this podcast, and we would love you to share it with your friends and family and get our name out there because this is something that we really enjoy doing.
Share us to one person that you know. And that's all we ask. Just one person that you know, yo.
And maybe you get a little bottle of wine and listen to this one with a friend. But you don't drive. Okay. Thank you for listening, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Oh, wait. What's our next movie?
I believe
Oh, wait.
that we're moving into a whole new decade.
We are moving into a whole new decade.
Sean?
Yes.
You asked me
What-
what is the next movie?
What is the next movie?
I don't know. You should just listen to this.
Oh, God. Crappy 1980s synth. I wonder what movie that could be. Oh, any movie made in the 1980s?
Eddie, why are you like walking naked now?
I'm from the future.
Did you just arrive in a glass ball?
Follow me if you want to survive.
There's really crappy
Come with
lightning.
me if you want to live, bro.
Follow me if you want to survive.
Come with me if you want to be okay.
Join me in this vehicle to avoid death and destruction.
All right, yo.
Thank
sound
you
like
for
lines from
listening,
that movie.
and cheers. We'll see you next
Cheers.
week for 2 weeks. 2 weeks, excuse me.
2 weeks, yo.
For Terminator.
So, I mean, as Eddie would say.
Get to the chopper.
I mean, that was a really good one, guys. Maybe,